Hello and welcome back to another episode of the DIYGuy.net.
Alright, today we're going to be showing you how to test your alternator to make sure it's charging as it should be. We're using a 2001 Subaru Outback. We're pretty sure this alternator is bad and not putting out the voltage it should be. So we're going to show you how to test that. We're going to replace the alternator, then we're going to go ahead and retest it again to make sure it's putting out the correct voltage. Alright, to do this we're going to need a multimeter that tests volts. So for this meter here we're going to go from the opposition to the V, which is volts. If you had a different style meter, it may say DCV, and then you want to set that number to 20 because we're going to work with 20 or less volts with this charging system. So we'll go ahead and turn our meter on, grab our ends, our leads, get the positive, put it on the positive side of the battery, make sure we got a good connection. Do the same thing with a negative. You'll see this one is 12.6, which isn't bad considering that we know this alternator is not putting out in this car. It should be around 12.6, give or take a little bit. Alright, so now that we got that reading, we're going to go ahead and start the car. We'll take our two leads again and retest the battery. We should get between 14.2 to 14.7 would be a good reading to make sure the alternator is charging. If you're over 14.7, your alternator is overcharging, which is not good for the charging system or the battery. If you're below 14.2, let's say 13.2, it's still going to charge the battery, but once you start running your accessories like your headlights, fog lights, the defroster, the AC, it's going to draw it down and it's not going to probably be enough to charge the battery if you go below that 12.6. Alright, so now we got the car running. Turn our meter back on. We'll retest it. So as you can see, we're 11.41 and dropping. So it means we're using the battery to run the motor and all the accessories that are on right now. If it were a good alternator, you should get 14.2 to 14.7, but we're not, so we know the alternator is not charging as it should be. Now one thing to check before you start swapping your alternator is make sure your terminal connections are clean on the battery and also the ones on the alternator. Make sure this is not corroded, make sure this is plugged in and good, wiggle it around, make sure you have no corrosion in there. If you have no corrosion on either the battery or the alternator, then your alternator is probably needs to be replaced. Alright, so the Outback that we replaced the alternator on actually left the shop, so I still want to show you what a good test of an alternator putting out and doing what it should looks like. So we got a 2007 Forester. We know this alternator is good, so we're going to go ahead and start the vehicle, which this one already is. We'll go ahead and put our meter to volts and test it. We should be between 14.2 and 14.7. You can see this one is 14.2. So this alternator is doing what it should. We should be able to put a bunch of the accessories on, headlights, seat warmers, defroster. You might see it fluctuate a little bit, but so you can see we're still pretty close to 14.2. We have the high beams of the headlights running. This also has an aftermarket set of daytime running lights. We have the AC going, we have both seat warmers and the defroster in the rear window going. And the heated mirrors.
So even with all these accessories running, we're still above that 12.6, so our alternator is still charging the battery, so this alternator is working as it should.
Alright, so that's it. We just showed you how to test your alternator and make sure it's doing what it should. If you need to learn how to replace the Subaru alternator battery, you can click right here on the link in the description.
Thanks for watching another episode of the DIYGuy.net. If you just finished building you the subscribe button, click that to get the latest DIY fixes delivered right to you. If you just finished building you the What's Next button, you can click that and we'll help you figure out what you want to fix next. You can also click the link in the description which takes you to our website for a full write-up.